The Toyota Camry has one of the longest running, most successful nameplates in North American automotive history. And today I'm going to show you why the latest generation still carries that crown, along with all of my biggest complaints and what's new for 2023. This year, the only real addition to the Camry is going to be the updates made to the SE Nightshade. So that's going to include sick-looking bronze wheels and a new blue for that model as well, but you can also get it in white or black. And that's it for 2023. Before I get into the meat of this video, if you enjoy fun, detailed car content without fluff, consider subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications. The thing that stands out to me the most about the Camry is going to be the powertrains for a few different reasons. So you're going to have a 2.5 liter direct injected and port fuel injected inline four. That's naturally aspirated, makes a little over 200 horsepower, around 184 pound-feet of torque, which got me to 60 in 8 seconds. Very little drama off the line. That's going to be hooked up to a smooth shifting 8-speed automatic. There's nothing really enthralling about the engine. Response is okay, acceleration is competitive, and the efficiency is impressive. The main appeal to that engine for me is that it's proven. If your highest priority is reliability, you get that and it won't really punish you outside of it being a little noisy. But you can also get a detuned version of that engine hooked up with a hybrid powertrain. Oh, that's definitely quicker than the standard car. That improves response through an eCVT, which uses an electric motor to very rapidly change the gear ratios, resulting in very refined performance for a continuously variable transmission. Not to mention the electric motor's torque fills in for the 2.5's lack of power low in the RPM range. Plus, outstanding gas mileage. In the LE trim, it gets over 50 miles per gallon combined, while being quicker than the standard 2.5. And if you want something even faster and you don't really care about gas mileage, you can also get it with the V6 and 8-speed automatic. Packing 301 horsepower from 3.5 liters, it can get to 60 in under 6 seconds without all-wheel drive. And it's one of the last V6s left in the mid-size sedan segment. And this variety of engines leads me to my next big reason to pick up a Camry, and that is the configurability. There are 4 core trims for the Camry, but there's a whole host of individual packages available on each one, which means you can get an SE, which has the sporty look to it, but none of the fancy features, so you can still get one for a reasonable price. Or you can get a car like this, the XSE, with the panoramic sunroof, the red interior. You can even opt it to have ventilated seats, a JBL sound system, and a heads-up display. Though Toyota doesn't produce a surplus of Camrys, making some specs quite elusive in the real world. Plus, the options really make the price climb like a goat on performance-enhancing drugs. Briefly, if you're looking for a down-to-earth dealership, may I recommend Royal South Toyota in Bloomington, Indiana, the friendly, community-focused store that has let me test drive new and used Camrys over the last year that makes this video possible. And I like that they offer the different looks, with just the more basic XLE and LEs, to the sporty XSE and SE, to the what are they smoking TRD, the latter of which has some impressive enhancements to make it track capable, though they didn't go all out, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And you can even get this with all-wheel drive if you want it, but that does come with some drawbacks, as it is limited to the 2.5 liter engine only, and that makes a big hit on the gas mileage, bringing it in line with a Toyota RAV4. So I would almost wish that they put that on the hybrid trim if they had to choose. It also would have made the V6 one hell of a sleeper, but we got to keep in mind that I think that makes up less than 5% of their sales, so I get it. My next point is probably a big selling point to the traditional Camry buyers, and that's going to be comfort and relaxation. So when you compare this to a lot of small SUVs, this is going to have a more smooth ride, yet it's still very forgiving and actually remains well controlled on rough, windy roads. Now, the non-TRD models are still not Civic Si levels of sporty or BMW alternatives, but it does handle well with precise steering and a little bit of reduced body roll in the SE and XSE, which have a sport-tuned suspension, which, by the way, does not really punish you on a bad road. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it's fun, because it isn't, at least in the specs that I've driven it. It still has a numb steering feel and it's going to be a little soft, but at the very least it is an easy, relaxing car to drive with things like great visibility and an acoustic windshield that allows it to be fairly quiet, not a luxury car by any means. The other half of the puzzle to the great highway experience is going to be the interior. And really, the cabin as a whole is a reason to pick up a Camry. It has very comfortable seats that have great levels of support. They're soft and they're not too aggressively bolstered too, so you can be kind of wider and still find yourself to be comfortable in the Camry. While I do wish there were soft touch materials for where your knees will rest,
the elbow rests are cushy and the fit and finish is impressive for the money.
You can get cloth seats, but you can also get soft tex, which makes it feel more durable, or you can get real leather like what I have here. Plus, the space. I am 6'3" and I easily fit in the front and back with plenty of comfort. The trunk is also cavernous and they keep analog controls for basically everything. The only downside is that this interior is starting to feel a little dated, and that is especially apparent with the infotainment system. You can get a 7-inch screen, or in the upper trims you'll get a 9-inch unit. Both of them have unimpressive resolutions and response times for 2023, but at the very least they are simple. And while I could probably run on and on about reasons to pick up a Camry, my last main one is going to be reliability. So as I already mentioned, you have a proven 2.5 liter engine. Whenever this came out, the powertrain control module made for a very unrefined transmission experience, and so after a reflash we saw issues drop off with that. A few people also had problems with a leaky gas cap. There were recalls on the fuel system and pump. Some complained about weak batteries and a power leak somewhere, and slight rattles and creaking coming from the interior as the thing ages. I drove one with 90,000 miles once, and I noticed that just a little bit, but it wasn't really a nuisance for me. Also, if you're looking at a hybrid model, those batteries are supposed to last 12 years. They can make it longer, and the price to replace them is going down, but still, we could be talking 3 or 4 grand way down the road. Do remember, with battery degradation, mileage is not as big of a factor as age. There are some other miscellaneous problems that you would expect when you have a car that sells like 300,000 a year, but there's really no issues on anything major here, so I can say with a good amount of certainty that I think this will be the most reliable mid-size sedan. And all things considered, it's a very cheap car to run. But no car is perfect, so let's talk about the downsides. First and foremost, that infotainment system. I also think while I do enjoy the interior, that dated factor to it is really becoming more apparent when you start looking at vehicles like the new Hyundai Sonata or Honda Accord.
It's also missing rear seat vents on half of the trims, and you have to individually accessorize rear USB ports. You also have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it's not wireless. I really do appreciate them adding all-wheel drive, but I feel like adding a simple rear motor all-wheel variant like the Corolla would help the 4x4 Camry make more sense economically. Moreover, I think the TRD Camry is an idiotic idea in all of the right ways, but if they really wanted to commit, it should have a limited slip differential if they're going to throw 300 horsepower to the front wheels.
And this is more of an enthusiast dream that maybe 4 people would actually buy into, but seeing a TRD version with the manual transmission would make for an instant classic in my eyes.
But that's more of a delusion on my part than a drawback for the Camry. A real downside to the car is that the numb, isolated steering and handling may have the car feeling confident, but it's not engaging. However, you're really not buying a Camry to have fun, and those are all of the cons that I could come up with.
This is a very well-rounded vehicle with several standout points that justifies why this is the best-selling sedan in the United States. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave it a like to help me take on the YouTube algorithm. If you want to see more, subscribe and hit the bell. And thank you to my loyal patrons. I'll catch you in the next one.